Hey, how are ya? How you be doing? Can we all just agree now that The Hunger Games is the twilight of Gen Z? Can we just all unanimously come to that conclusion? Now, I'm not saying you have to be Gen Z in order to be a fan or like The Hunger Games. That is not what I'm saying at all. Absolutely not. But what I mean when I say it's the twilight of Gen Z is that back when the film franchise of The Hunger Games came out between 2012 and 2015, it had the same mainstream hype as Twilight did, that drew in a strong teenage fan base, especially teenage girls. And personally, because I had developed my own taste and preferences in media consumption by the time the Hunger Games films came out during my college years, I had just missed the mark of getting into it just because my friends were into it. I mean, I did know peers of mine that were fans of the Hunger Games, but they weren't like passionate Team Peeta versus Team Gale kind of fandom. The last half of the millennial generation, like the one I'm in, had outgrown that phase of their lives after spending all their time in 2010 fighting on Tumblr whether or not Jacob or Edward was a better fit for Bella Swan in Twilight, Night at the Museum style. That scene at Night at the Museum between Larry and Attila the Hun is what I think of when I always think of petty internet fights. And personally, the only thing that I've always known about the Hunger Games and the aspect of it I've always been into have been the memes from the film itself or the film press tours, like Jennifer Lawrence's "Where's the pizza? Where's the pizza?" and the song from Mockingjay that had been remixed for top 40 radio stations. And you would be lying if you say that that was not a bop. Now, for anyone who hasn't seen or read the books Hunger Games, there will be spoilers up in here. So unless you've seen the films before or you don't really care whether or not you get exposed to the storyline without watching the films first, or reading the books, go ahead and keep watching, or listening if you have this on as background noise. I know lots of people are doing that these days. Now, just to be warned, if I didn't make this clear already, this is a reaction to the Hunger Games movies and not both the Hunger Games movies and films. I'll be doing a similar format as my Twilight video, where I go through each installment individually, give my honest reactions, nagging thoughts on a character's motive, question the storyline, or whatever the fuck else just comes out my mouth. Let's just waste no more time and get right into the meat of this video and what you actually came here for. Now, the first thing I want to say, with the first installment of The Hunger Games, they did a really good job with portraying the political climate that carries the plot of the entire Hunger Games trilogy. Because the thing with films that fall into the action and war drama genre, and why I don't really find myself gravitating toward them, is that a lot of the time they don't do a good job at explaining in the beginning why they're on the front lines to begin with. It can be difficult to follow when the introductory substance is carried by fight, boom, yell, whack, and not the human devastation and destruction that is behind the motivation to go to battle with the enemy. But with Hunger Games, you get to see, okay, the citizens of all 12 districts of Pan Am are living in abysmal, life-threatening conditions, causing widespread famine and extreme poverty throughout most of the nation. So I think because that in the first film, it didn't take a long-ass time to establish that, the films and their plot lines were easy to follow along with. And now that I've watched the whole trilogy, I can understand the hype around it and why so many people are drawn to the Hunger Games and why it's so popular. And it's because if you live in a society like present day America, you know all too well the unequal distribution of resources and unfair taxing that makes the rich richer and keeps the poor poor. Anyway, I didn't mean to go on a political rant. I am trying to do less of that on this channel. But some shit just needs to be said to get a point across. But anyway, moving on. Now on to talking about the actual Hunger Games movies. Now, something that I don't understand about the rules of the Hunger Games itself, like the actual gameplay, is why the fuck are children under the age of 13 eligible as tributes? I mean, I know the Hunger Games are not supposed to be fair in their structure to invoke sorrow and extreme anxiety within the citizens, assigning young people to go into battle. But you can at least give the tributes a fighting chance by making them within the same age bracket. Like an 11-year-old child child doesn't stand a chance in a punching match with a 17-year-old. It's like you couldn't at least make the tributes within the age range of 13 to 17, so all the opponents could have an equal chance of winning. I don't know, that was just confusing to me. Now, I cannot be the only one here who thought that Josh Hutcherson had retired from acting until the Hunger Games. I mean, like, the last thing that I remembered from him up until the Hunger Games was his role as Jesse in Bridge to Terabithia. And seeing Josh Hutcherson in the Hunger Games as a grown adult was a bit of a exposure therapy for me. Because listen, I used to have the most hopeless crush on that boy when I was in middle school. I used to write in my school notebook, Mrs. Josh Hutcherson. I used to stalk his official website and look at pictures of him all day long. This was before the age of social media and before famous people had social media accounts. They had official websites where fans would be updated on public appearances, new movie announcements, everything that today you can find on famous people's social media accounts, you would find on their official websites back in the day. But then I got into high school and I matured and got experience with real boys, and
oh my God.
I'm right when I say the fantasy of guys are better than the reality of being with actual guys. But anyway, I'm back to the Hunger Games. That moment when Katniss and Peeta get on the train for the first time, with all that food and fancy seating areas, surrounded by all the bouginess and food, and that's sweet, but I'd low-key volunteer as tribute too. Like, even if I'm at a threat of getting unalived, I can at least lay in the lap of luxury until my time is up. I mean, sounds very morbid, but it's the life chapter I'm in right now. Now, of course, because I'm an astrologer, I had to come up with a big 3 for Katniss. I'm sure most people label her as a Sagittarius because of the bow and arrow. And I do agree that she seems like a Sagittarius sun, but I think she's an Aries rising with a Cancer moon. Most of you might be saying, I don't know what that means, but I can tell you what it means if you would let me be your very own personal astrologer, in addition to me being your new favorite neurodivergent YouTuber. Moving on now. So you remember that scene where the tributes demonstrate their main defense for the people of the Capitol when Katniss shot an arrow through that apple? That is exactly how musical theater auditions go. I was a theater kid all the way from elementary school to college, and it seems that in order for the audition panel to pay attention to you or take you seriously,
I can't sing either.
I'm unique! Woo!
I mean, that was just my personal experience, and I know it might not be universal, but let me know if that's a real thing. For all of you former theater kids out there, let me know if that was your experience too. Now, another thing I couldn't help but thinking during my watching experience of the Hunger Games, that the whole act of running away from people and only trusting those who have established themselves as your allies. As an introvert, I was thinking to myself, this is what it feels like to live in a world full of extroverts, or rather an extrovert-friendly world. Now, I think there is something deeply wrong with me, y'all. Because in that scene where Peeta was spreading medicine across Katniss's cut on her forehead, that to me, that was the most romantic scene of the movie, and not the scene where they kiss. I think I have a problem that needs to be explored more in therapy. I don't know. I'll think more on it and update you if I come to a revelation of some sorts. But speaking of their coupledom, well, at this point, coupledom, because they're just PR at this point, are Peeta and Katniss not rocking Beauty and the Beast core in that last public appearance in the end? Because, you know, he's in like the blue, she's in the yellow. I don't know. I just thought they looked like Beauty and the Beast. Now we gotta talk about Catching Fire, where Peeta and Katniss have gone home for a little bit, but are going to be going on a press tour and posing as found love on the battlefield. Not that I'm a mainstream media insider or anything, or know anything about celebrities and their personal lives, but I wouldn't be surprised if at least 98% of celebrity couples are completely fake and are just together for PR reasons. Because like, how do famous people have the time to meet up, date, get to know each other, all that shebang, when most of their waking moments seem to be working or doing anything else that they have to do to maintain their public image? I mean, it's not a conspiracy theory. I've just always been curious. When two people with high-profile careers come together and do the whole falling in love, getting married thing, when they most likely probably don't even have time to tend to themselves. Like, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it just seems really difficult. But my point to all that was, I wouldn't be surprised if 98% are doing what Peeta and Katniss are doing, having a showmance that people go absolutely crazy over and ship like hell. And it's a reflection of how in the real world, how celebrity obsessed the general public is about the trivial stuff that they do, what goes on with them, and how curated their whole public images and lives are. And it's the whole reason why celebrity culture exists, to distract people from what's going on in the real world. The same way the mainstream media of Pan Am obsesses over the lives and tea of the Hunger Games tributes, to manipulate the interests and behavior of Pan Am's society, so that its citizens don't question the authority of the Capitol, or the morality of the Hunger Games and why they do it in the first place. I know it sounds kind of contradictory to bring up this next point with the previous point that I made, to admire the Katniss glamour moments of Mockingjay in particular. Cause look at this. This is fucking gorgeous. With Catching Fire in particular, Katniss really ate with the glam moments. I can say ate, even though I'm a millennial. I have permission to ruin it now. You know why? Because my girl JoJo said it in her book. As you can see, not JoJo Siwa. This is the real JoJo. My fellow millennial, the right JoJo here, used the phrase ate in her autobiography Over the Influence. So I think it's okay for us millennials to say it now. I don't know what purpose that side tangent served, other than an opportunity to just hype up JoJo. And her music is the only music I'm listening to now. But anyway, I promise we're back on topic with the Hunger Games. I know that she's a minor character, but Joanne is my favorite character of this whole series. She's what I aspire to be, but I have too much Libra in my birth chart. In that scene where she's addressing President Snow in the dome.
Hey, how does that sound, Snow? What if we set your backyard on fire? You know, you can't put everybody in here.
That's literally me indirectly talking back to authority. And now lastly, when it comes to Mockingjay, it seems that throughout the entirety of the film's releases, in that 3-year period, that the media always gave a significant spotlight to Liam Hemsworth in the press tours. But he really doesn't have that significant of a role in the Hunger Games until Mockingjay. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that he was dating Miley Cyrus on and off at the time, and he was already in the media enough as it is, and they just used his Miley adjacent clout to promote the films. I don't know. I was just surprised to see him not be so relevant up until Mockingjay. Now we can't talk about Mockingjay without talking about the song.
Are you coming to the tree? They strung up a man, they say, who murdered 3. Strange things did happen here, no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree.
As a Southern woman, Jennifer Lawrence's Southern roots are really showing in her singing. She's from Louisville, Kentucky, and chances are that if you're younger than 50-ish and you grew up in the South, you most likely don't have an accent when you speak. But when you say certain words or when you sing, you can always hear some sort of twang or drawl somewhere in there. I mean, it comes out here in my videos. And if you've watched my videos before, you've probably heard it. Like, I don't have an accent, but I'll say certain words or phrases that have a slight Southern hint. I'm not talking about when I go like full Southern on this channel like this. That's just for dramatic effect. All that was to say was, no matter where you come from, no matter where you go, your roots will always show up somewhere at some point in your speech, whether you like it or not. And as much as Jennifer Lawrence tries to suppress that accent, she didn't get away with it in the Mockingjay song. It's like, I heard you, girl. I heard you. I heard the Kentuckiness in your voice. You ain't fooling nobody. Now, I just gotta say this as a former cat mother myself. This is a pillow of my former cat, Chloe, who passed away a few years ago. Rest in peace, old girl. In the evacuation scene, Prim absolutely cannot be blamed for going back for her cat Buttercup. I mean, if you don't have a cat or never had a cat, you can't understand why Prim would put herself in the dangerous position of being on the brink of death. So when Katniss was like, "You went back for the cat?" First of all, you have cat in your first name. And second of all, you don't know what you're talking about. I just don't understand how Katniss could dislike the cat with her name having cat in it. I'm pretty sure Katniss just hated the cat first. Cause like cats know whether or not you like them. I don't know, maybe there's something that because I didn't read the book that I missed. I think Katniss started the beef, whatever beef there was between her and the cat. And one last thing I have to say about Mockingjay is when Katniss returned to District 12, I was like, What? Who would want to go back to that? I'm really surprised that she and Peeta stayed even after they got married and had kids. Because like, if I were in her position and so much death and destruction happened in my homeland, I'd want to stay as far away from that place as possible. Peeta and Katniss still found a way to have a happily ever after, it seems, and live to tell the tale of victory to their precious kids. So I think this is a good place to wrap everything up. I overall truly enjoyed diving into the Hunger Games watching experience, and if I had to give the film trilogy a star rating, I give it a 4 out of 5. I say 4 because I think the pacing of the story building up to the climax and resolutions didn't have to take 2.5 hours. But like with everything on this channel, just my opinion. Let me know in the comments if you've seen the Hunger Games and how you got into it, if you've read the books, what the differences were between the books and the movies, or anything else you'd like to share with the class and anything else you want to info dump about regarding the Hunger Games. Just as long as you keep it respectful and polite. Go ahead now, it's your turn. Info dump away. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up, share with your Hunger Games bestie, and if you think you and I are a vibe match, and I sure as hell would love it if you joined the emotional support coven. That's what I call the subscribers of this channel. And just so you know, the emotional support part is for everyone, because covens support each other. I mean, you don't have to jump through all the hoops just to be a part of it. You can just find that subscribe button on your screen and give it a tap, like ping! And you also get the perk of being one of the very first viewers of the latest video drop. I mean, personally, I think that's a flex. I don't know, you decide for yourself if you think that's a flex or not. Either way, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!